Hello, I'm Shannon Edwards, and I'm the Director of Benefits, Retirement, and Leave here at the University of Florida. And I would first like to welcome you to the University of Florida. We are so glad you're here, and we appreciate you taking this time to learn a little bit more about your benefits, retirement, and leave. So if you'll just give us about 1 hour of your time, I promise you at the end of this presentation, you will know your benefits, you will know what actions you need to take, you will know how to use the leave that you accrue, and you will understand all of the different retirement options. So once again, thanks for taking the time, and let's get started. What we're going to talk about today is the benefits landscape, the retirement landscape, leave, give you some helpful reminders, and then of course, how to contact the benefits team, because we know at the end of this presentation, you might still have some questions and we want to make sure you understand how to reach out to us. So let's first talk about benefits. This is where we're going to spend the most amount of time. I will say it's probably the most complex. So if you'll just bear with me as we get through, especially the medical plan, I promise you it'll go faster after we get through this. But let me first start off talking about the state of Florida medical plan highlights. First of all, you're University of Florida employees and you are eligible, most of you that are on this call, for state of Florida benefits. So the ones that I'm going to highlight right now would be the state of Florida medical plans. You'll see there is a standard PPO, a standard HMO, a high deductible PPO, and a high deductible HMO. So let's go through each of these columns so you'll be sure to understand how they work, because I never want you to just make a decision until you understand the nuances of those, because some of them are a little bit different. So first of all, the standard PPO. I'm going to immediately jump to the provider network. That provider network is Blue Cross Blue Shield and Florida Blue. So Florida Blue is the Florida division of Blue Cross Blue Shield. But what I like about the standard PPO plan, you have access to the nationwide Blue Cross Blue Shield network. So if you have children, as I do, that I have one that lives in Maine, one in Georgia, one in South Carolina, we have this Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, and we're able to go to providers throughout the country because of that. There is a deductible on this PPO plan, albeit very low. So if you're coming to us maybe from corporate America, you haven't seen deductibles this low, but you see there is a $250 if you're employee only, and a $500 deductible for the entire family. So even though there's a deductible on this plan, and what you see right next door to this on the HMO, there's no deductible, it's still a very small deductible if this is the one that you would want to choose. But let me point out, the deductible does not come into play for routine office visits or sick visits. A deductible is going to come into play when you have to have an x-ray or an MRI or maybe an inpatient or outpatient procedure. That is when you're going to see that deductible. For those routine office visits, sick visits for the children, etc., you'll still have copays, and a deductible will not kick in first. Across all of our plans, preventive care is covered at 100%. So it's the well woman exam, it's the pap smear, the mammograms, routine annual physicals are all covered at 100% regardless of the plan you choose. We definitely encourage and want you to take care of that preventive care. With the standard PPO plan and also the HMO plan, you will see that you could enroll in a flexible spending account. That is where you can put money aside pre-tax to pay for qualified medical expenses. And let me clarify, a qualified medical expense would be medical, dental, vision. It doesn't just have to be a medical expense. You can use it for various items that you might need care or to seek glasses, orthodontia, etc. Once again, Blue Cross Blue Shield is the network for the PPO plan. And then you have a prescription provider network. That is Optum RX. Now, I'm probably going to say this again, but I have to say it as many times as I can. You're going to receive two cards. You're going to receive a medical card and you're going to receive a prescription card. So make sure, first of all, that mailing address is correct in my UFL. And know that you will receive two different mailings. You will need to have two cards in your wallet. If you have family members on the plan, they'll want to have two cards in the wallet as well. If you need extra, you can reach out to either Florida Blue or Optum RX, and you can get additional cards. Now, the cost for this plan, $50 a month for employee only coverage and $180 a month for family coverage. Once again, I'm not sure where you're coming from, but this is unheard of in this day and age, especially when plans are seeing 10, 15% rate increases. We have actually not seen a rate increase in many years. The University of Florida pays about 90 to 91% of the total cost of your plan. So we are paying about $1,800 for this coverage. If you have family plan, you're paying $180 a month. So it is a great deal, very strong benefits. Now, if you go over to the right, the difference in the HMO, I've already highlighted that. No deductible, which is nice. You go in for that inpatient hospital stay. Let's say you're going to go have a baby. You have no deductible. So folks love that. But I want to point out something here. It is only in-network benefits. So if you were to want to seek a second opinion and it's outside of the network that you're assigned to in the HMO, there would be no coverage. In a PPO plan, if you were to do that and go outside of the Blue Cross Blue Shield network, which I will tell you is hard to do because the Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, United, all of their networks are so very vast. But if you did go outside of the network on a PPO, you would have some out-of-network coverage, not on the HMO. That is, you must always stay in that network. So I would say an HMO is a little bit more restrictive than a PPO, but once again, no deductible, folks like that. Preventive, 100%. You can also participate in the flexible spending account, but your provider network is different and it is based on your location. So if you're in Alachua County, you're in this Gainesville region, you would have Aetna. If you're maybe in Jacksonville or South Florida, you could have United Healthcare, and I'll show you a slide about that in just a moment. OptumRx is also your prescription vendor, so 2 cards, and it's the same price. So I'm going to make it a little bit more difficult for you on which one to choose because there is no differential in price depending on the standard HMO or PPO plan. That's the highlights. There's a lot more information. I'll show you that in a second. But let's talk about the high deductible health plan. So it's called high deductible health plan for a reason. And if we're going to go straight to the deductible section, it's high deductible because you see here, it has got a much higher deductible than you would see on the standard plans. What is important about a high deductible health plan for you to understand before you enroll if you have never been in a high deductible health plan, and many of you, as I, before I came to UF, had been in one for years, is that nothing is paid. Nothing, with the exception of preventive, until you have met your deductible. So no prescription is going to have a copay, no office visit, the sick visit for the children, the inpatient stays, the x-rays. You must meet that deductible before anything is paid. So that can be surprising to individuals and a little upsetting when they go to the pharmacy and the pharmacist says, you know, it's not $10, it's actually $120 for this prescription drug. You want to make sure, especially with your prescription drugs, that you understand how much they cost. And how can you do that? If you go to CVS, CVS will tell you, they'll print it on a receipt for you, how much that drug really is. Not how much you're paying, but how much it really costs, because that is important for you to know, because you would be paying for that prescription drug cost, even though it's discounted because you're using your OptumRx network. You would be paying for it up to either the single or the family deductible. So I do not say that to scare you. People will say, Shannon, you don't like high deductible health plans. That's not true at all. I love a high deductible health plan as long as you understand how it works. Now, a very big difference in the high deductible health plan from the standard is the health savings account. I love a health savings account. I love them. I love them. They are pre-tax as well. Similar to a flexible spending account, but flexible spending accounts, if you don't use it, you lose it, with the exception of $680 that will roll over. That is not the case with an HSA. That can roll over year after year after year. If you don't use it, it just continues to build and build and build. I will always encourage anyone who's enrolling in a high deductible health plan, put money in your HSA. You will have a prescription drug. You will have to go to the doctor. You will have to pay, potentially up to your deductible. So get that health savings account built up so you have the money to be able to use when you do incur such expenses. A great thing about the state of Florida and the University of Florida, we're going to put a little bit of money into a health savings account for you. So if you pick the single plan, we're going to give you $500 per year. You will receive that every pay period. If you do the family plan, you will get $1,000 that will go into your health savings account. You then additionally can put up to $3,900 or $7,750. So it is a nice savings tool if you're able to do more than what you might expect to spend. Now, you'll also have to make a choice between the PPO or the HMO plan. What is different about that high deductible HMO, there is a deductible with that HMO because, of course, this is the high deductible plan. But the networks are going to either be Blue Cross Blue Shield Florida Blue for the PPO or Aetna or United based on where you live in the state of Florida. Optum, once again, is going to be the provider for prescription drugs. And yes, you always want to still give your prescription drug card to the pharmacist because you're going to get a discount off that retail price of the drug. So make sure you're always submitting that card. And then you also need it to run through to start bringing that deductible down. So please don't forget to use your Optum RX card every time you get a prescription filled, especially on that high deductible plan. What is also nice about this plan, it costs less out of your paycheck. So you see $15 or $64.30 if you have a family. So remember, it's going to cost you less out of your paycheck. You're going to get an employer contribution into your HSA, but you do have that higher deductible. So lots of choices that you need to make as you navigate which plan is best for you. But I can just sit here and tell you all four of them are great options. Just make sure you understand the nuances about that. As we look at the next slide, here are a lot more of those nuances, and goodness gracious, there's a lot of information on this slide. I'm not going to go through it. This is actually can be found on the state of Florida benefits website. There's a link on our UFHR benefits website of which you can get out there or you can bookmark it, what have you. But this just gives you a snapshot of more details. So I talked about copays for primary care or specialists if you're on the PPO or HMO plan, and that information can be found here. Also, what are the prescription drug copays? Remember, you don't have those on the high deductible until you meet the deductible. But the standard, you definitely would have immediate access to those copays for prescription drugs and for office visits, etc. So if you want more information, here is that information for you. Here is the HMO by region map. And so as you see here, it just breaks out the state of Florida, and then it will show you either United, Capital Health, or Aetna. Primarily, our employees are going to be in the Aetna region, but we definitely know that we've got a lot of folks still across the state of Florida, but we have a high concentration in Region 4, Region 7 as well. So just make sure as you're making the decision that you look at, and this is going to be your mailing address. So it's based on your mailing address that you have in MyUFL that we send to the state of Florida. That is what is going to trigger your HMO location. So check that out before you make your decision. Now, I don't want to not talk about Gator Care. I don't spend as much time on Gator Care, but Gator Care is not a state of Florida medical option. Everything I just spoke about was state of Florida. Gator Care is actually a plan that is administered through UF Health, and the University of Florida is one of its participating members. It is available for our postdoc associates, our clinical faculty in the College of Medicine, residents, and faculty and staff who have domestic partners. So if you have a qualified domestic partner, and if you question what determines qualification for domestic partner, that information is on our website. There's an affidavit that you would have to fill out and information that you would have to provide to prove that domestic partnership. But if you are in a domestic partnership or you are one of these other employee types, you are available to enroll in Gator Care. It is a PPO plan Florida Blue is also the network, as it is with the standard PPO and high deductible PPO plans with the state of Florida. And we have provided a link because the benefit plans are different. So if this is a plan that you want to pursue, you want to check out, make sure you look at the rates. They're similar to the state rates, but they vary slightly. We've got a couple of different tiers, but you'll definitely want to look at the rates and also the benefits, because the slide we just showed you a couple before this, it will look different. But it's a great option for those with domestic partners, because domestic partners are not eligible to enroll in the state of Florida plan, but they can through UF. But the deal with that is you as the employee must also be enrolled in the Gator Care plan. So you can't just put your domestic partner on Gator Care and you take the state plan. You have to be a unit on Gator Care if you have a domestic partner. But great plans. I encourage you to check those out if they might apply to you. Okay, that was medical. So now let's talk about dental. And I wish we were in a room together and I could make some funny jokes about dental insurance, because what I'm going to show you in a minute, I'm always apologetic about, and you will understand why in just a second. We say here many dental options. You're about to see what I define as many. They are traditional dental plans. They have networks of providers, deductibles, maximums. Some plans have orthodontia coverage, some do not. Some have orthodontia coverage for only children, some have it for children and adults. There might be a waiting period. So let's say you've never been enrolled in a state of Florida dental plan. Now you're going to jump in and you, as the adult, want to go and get braces. You might have a waiting period before you can get said braces. So make sure you understand that. We've given you a link so you can go out to what you're about to see in a second on the different plans. Now, to make things even more a little confusing, and I apologize about that, the University of Florida offers what's called Eagles Dental. It's a reimbursement program. It is not insurance. Folks do like it because you can go to any dentist. It's a little bit, I would say, easier to navigate in that it's a $1,500 annual maximum. Any dentist, you are very clear on what's going to be paid and what's not going to be paid. Some of your dentists across the state will charge you up front and you will have to file for reimbursement, or they'll submit the claim to Eagles and they'll deal with reimbursement through Eagles. It just depends on how your dentist operates. Before I show you the next slide, I will always say, please don't pick a dental plan if you are dentist loyal, meaning that you only are going to go to the same dentist, because you could be disappointed in the option that you're going to pick. I would not pick a dental plan if you do not call your dentist and ask them, do you participate in this? Your dentist will tell you, frankly, especially in the Gainesville area, what dental plans they do not like. I would ask your dentist about Eagles Dental. Are they going to file your claim for you, etc. If you are new to the Gainesville area and you think, Shannon, I don't even have a dentist, you definitely want to go with a less restrictive dental plan, because a lot of the dentists in Gainesville either don't participate in some of the networks, they have long waiting lists, etc. If you have children, I'm going to show you something that you definitely want to look at. But there's a lot of information about dental insurance. But remember, y'all, dental insurance is great, but it only covers a small amount, up to $1,500, $2,000, etc. It's never going to be as broad as a medical plan. So as you're really toiling over which plan is best for you, spend a lot more time on that medical option than your dental option. Don't just pick a dental plan, understand them, but just remember they are limited in what they will cover, etc. So let's look at the next slide. And this is where I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I lead up to it and you think it's going to be horrible, and maybe it's not as bad to you as it is to me, but here are your 14 options to choose from across the state of Florida plans. So let me just tell you what I would look at. I am going to, this is how I read this chart. Prepaid dental plans on the far left, the most restrictive. Indemnity plans on the far right, least restrictive. And what I mean by most restrictive is I do worry about DHMO plans, in that if you do not go to an in-network dentist, very similar to that standard HMO medical plan, you must stay in network in order to be able to have services. It works the same way on the dental plans. The problem is this. there are not a lot of dentists that participate in DHMO plans. For example, the closest pediatric DHMO dentist is in Jacksonville. So I would be very cautious about going into these plans if you do not have a dentist and you have children and you don't, you're hoping to find one in Gainesville that participates in these plans. They are limited. So be cautious on that. The middle PPO plans, they're very standard in nature, probably the most popular based on cost and benefit. Indemnity plans, they can be a little bit more expensive. They might cover a little bit more from a maximum perspective, but I always say, look at the price. Look at the price you're going to pay for out of your paycheck. Make sure it's worth it. So let me tell you another few things that I would look at. Be cautious on DHMOs. Look at your annual maximums. You'll see $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. If you're going to have a root canal or you're going to need a bridge or your wisdom teeth extracted, I can assure you that that is going to go very quickly, these maximums. So be careful on those. Make sure that they are going to be right for you. Also, orthodontia coverage. Look at that. If your children are going to need orthodontia, pick a plan with orthodontia coverage. If you do not need orthodontia coverage, don't take a plan that has orthodontia coverage. You will pay more for orthodontia coverage. So, for example, when I had my children, they were all in braces. I was in the standard PPO plan because I needed that orthodontia coverage. My children, thank goodness, are all out of braces. I moved over to the preventive PPO plan because I just don't need that anymore. So those are a few things that I would definitely look at. And that waiting period for orthodontic services, I've had some folks that have jumped into that standard PPO plan because as an adult, you can get maybe the Invisalign or braces. But if you see here, there is a 12-month waiting period before those coverages will kick in. So be cautious on that as well. As we go to the next slide, here are the prices. These are monthly premiums. We are going to withhold premiums from you for 24 pay periods. You will be paid 26 pay periods, but there are 2 pay periods throughout the year that we do not withhold deductions from. So these are monthly premiums, but once again, yours will be 24 pay periods. So you might have to do a little math to figure out exactly what yours will be. But this just gives you another visual of the different plans and, of course, the cost associated with them. All right. Now there's vision. So we've talked medical, we've talked dental. Now let's talk vision insurance. State of Florida and University of Florida both offer a vision plan. One is pre-tax, one is post-tax. That's really honestly up to y'all. Which one do you like better? Which one feels better to you? Because they're both with Humana. They both have very similar benefits and the rates are very close. So, I mean, I will say for me, I have the state of Florida vision just because it was easier for me to have medical dental vision all with state of Florida, but it doesn't matter. You can pick a state of Florida option. You can pick a University of Florida option. You can do whatever works for you. Now, I want to also point out, unlike medical, dental and vision, you can pick employee only coverage, employee and spouse, employee and children, family. For example, for years, I had vision insurance for only myself and my children because my husband did not need glasses. But of course, on the medical plan, you only have employee or family, and a family with medical is employee plus anything. So even if you're only married, it's going to be family. With dental, now my kids are out of the braces, what have you. They're on their own. It's just my spouse and I on the dental plan. So those are things that you definitely want to look at. I have not said this enough, but 60 days from your date of hire, not 60 days from the day you watch this video or 60 days from when you think about benefits, but it's 60 days from your date of hire. I cannot stress that enough. We honestly have no flexibility. If you missed your 60-day window, we'll talk about when is the next time for you to enroll. But please know 60 days. I encourage you, let's get it done now. Let's do it as quickly as possible so you don't have to worry about that and you can focus on your new job. But this is vision, very standard. You wouldn't want to have both unless you are needing contacts and glasses and lenses. It might be good to have both. You could have both, but run the numbers. Make sure that makes sense to you. from a premium perspective. If it were me, I would put money in a flexible spending account or a health savings account if I had the high deductible health plan, and I would pay for my glasses or contacts that way. But that's my advice. All right. Let's move on to disability. This is one of if folks that have worked with me, and I've been in this industry for 32 years, and I have been managing disability plans my entire career. I am incredibly passionate about disability insurance. If folks ask me, Shannon, what's the most important thing to have? Medical insurance and then disability, because this is going to provide income replacement to you in the event you become disabled from work. Life insurance is important. That is important for your family. But disability is when you're still alive, but you are unable to work. And, we all think we're invincible, that this can happen when we least expect it. And so this benefit does pay 66 2/3 of your salary. Your monthly premiums are based on your salary. So unlike the three I just showed you, I'm not able to show you how much it would cost because it is all salary based. But you will be able to see this upon enrollment. Guarantee issue. This is what is so critically important. And I sometimes really don't want to sound like an insurance commercial because that is not my desire. But guarantee issue means no medical questions. So if you have any type of medical conditions, and I can tell you that people are denied for very, very basic medical conditions these days. It is difficult to get disability and life insurance once you've passed this new hire period. So as a new hire, they are not going to ask you any medical questions. You can have pre-existing conditions and still be able to get the disability insurance. If you choose not to do this and you wait till open enrollment, you're typically going to have to answer medical questions and risk the chance of being denied and not be able to get that insurance. So if you want it, new hire is the time to get it. You have two options, and I am going to strongly recommend the UF Select plan. You have options through the state of Florida. Colonial is the provider. It really is a short-term disability plan. So yes, it would probably cost a little bit less, but it is not going to cover you for long-term situations. And that, frankly, is what I'm most concerned about, is those long-term needs. Through the University of Florida, the carrier is the Standard, and you can choose between a 30-day plan and a 90-day plan. And with that 90-day plan, that means benefits will not be paid until the 91st day if you become disabled. On the 30-day plan, benefits would be paid on the 31st day. 30-day will cost more than 90-day because you're going to start getting the benefits sooner than. But I would definitely look at both options. I would lean towards the 90-day plan because I'm going to show you in a moment just how rich the time off benefits are at the University of Florida. And if you save that sick time, you would be able to cover it up until that 90th day. The next one we're going to talk about is life insurance. If you are a full-time employee, you're 0.75 and above, you are going to receive $25,000 of employer-paid term life insurance through the state of Florida at no cost. The carrier is MetLife. We want to make sure that you do a beneficiary for that, and I'll remind you of that at the end. You can also get additional life insurance through MetLife. It is multiples of your salary, 1 times, 2 times, etc. You can get up to 1 million. And then the lesser of 5 times your salary or 500,000 is guaranteed, meaning no medical questions asked. During open enrollment, you would have to answer medical questions. You can get spouse life insurance of 15 or 20,000 and 10,000 for your children. These are, once again, term life policies. They do go up as you age. The state of Florida has bands. About every 5 years, you're going to see an increase. The other option would be UF Select. It's in 10,000 increments up to $800,000, and up to $300,000 is guaranteed upon hire. You can get additional coverage for your spouse or your children. Couple things. You must have employee life coverage in order to get spouse coverage. So if you said, I just want to get coverage for my spouse, you cannot do that if you do not have coverage for yourself. So that's definitely one thing to think of. You could put together these two plans. Let's say you didn't want to answer any medical questions. You could do 500,000 for the state. You could do 300,000 on the University of Florida plan, get 800,000 of coverage and not have to answer medical questions. Once again, UF Select plan, it is term life. It does go up on the year in which you turn. So you're going to see increases more frequently with this plan. I do want to point out a difference between the two. The state plan does not have accidental death and dismemberment coverage, whereas the University of Florida plan does. And I know that's such a morbid thing to have to talk about, but it is important as you are making plans for your financial plans. If you were to die in an accident with the UF Select plan, you would get double your coverage. If you were to die in an accident on the state of Florida plan, you would only get that base coverage. Let's say you picked 500,000. You get 500,000. If you had 300,000 on that UF Select plan and you died in an accident, it would be 600,000. So definitely something that's important to me to think about when I'm making a decision. So I hope that's something that you'll think about as well. A few other things, and then we're almost done with the benefit landscape. There are supplemental programs through the state. These are the AFLAC type plans: accident, cancer, hospitalization, and hospital intensive care. These are not insurance plans. They're reimbursement plans. These plans pay money to you if you were to have an accident, if you were to be diagnosed with cancer, or you're in the hospital, etc. And these are for individual plans. I like these plans. What I don't like is to see everyone or to see employees enroll in all of them. You would never want to just enroll in all of these. I had a conversation with my daughter-in-law who was enrolling in benefits for the first time. And they were like, well, we're going to pick the hospitalization or hospital intensive care plan. And I said, okay, tell me why. Are we planning a hospital intensive care stay? Have we had any issues or any reasons to do so? No, I just thought that I needed to have that. I'm like, well, let's look at the plan. Let's look at how much it would cost. Let's see how much it would pay you if you happen to be in intensive care. They decided not to do it at that point. On the flip side, I have a family member who's just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It's now going to be, now I've got a family history of cancer. Is this a policy that maybe I should consider? Because what if I then get a cancer diagnosis? It would actually benefit, from a financial perspective greatly if you were to have that type of diagnosis. So I say that to encourage you, research these plans, make sure they're right for you. I never want to see people just sign up and spend a lot of money out of their paycheck. FSA or HSA, we talked about those plans. Remember, FSA for PPO, for standard, PPO and HMO, HSA only for high deductible health plans. And then there's the preferred legal plan. We love this plan. We're not going to lie about that. We just love it. $6.98 a pay period. It's going to take care of just basic legal needs. You need legal assistance. You need advice. You need a will. You need a power of attorney. It covers you and anyone living in your household, which is shocking to me. Your roommate could use it. Your cousin who happens to live with you could use it, and it is a low cost. So I don't want to see you take this and not use it. But if you need to get your affairs in order, let's say you're selling your, for sale by owner, etc., great plan if you've got some legal needs. Okay, so that was highlights of the benefits. So let's talk about when they're effective. And that's so important for you all as new employees. Coverage begins on the first day of the month after a full month's premium is paid. And we pay in advance for state of Florida benefits. So this example, August, you're hired, your elections are made. You are then effective October 1st is the default. However, you can get a September 1st effective date if you enroll as soon as you're hired. You got to have that enrollment done before the end of August in order to get a September 1st effective date. If you enroll in September, there is no way you can have a September 1st effective date. It must be done in August. You then can put, as you're enrolling in the state system, it will ask you if you want an early effective date of coverage, and the answer, if that's what you need, is yes. However, you're going to owe us some extra money. You're going to owe the state extra money because we haven't collected any money from you in August to pay for that September coverage. So your September paycheck, your October paycheck, your deductions may be a little bit higher because we're having to catch you up. But if you don't want the early effective date coverage, October 1st would be the default for that. That is only for medical. Dental and vision, you cannot get an early effective date of coverage. So you would not start those until that October 1st, for example. On the UF Select plans, that coverage is retroactive to your start date. Premiums are collected in the month of coverage in which you elect that. So we're not going to be in that situation necessarily where you're owing us, double of premiums that we're then having to collect from you unless you wait till the very end to enroll in that. So how do you enroll? I'm not going to say it's confusing. I will say that it can be complex. So this is one of the most important things. And I typically say that a lot, but a lot of this is very important to me that you understand. I want to make sure that you have a clear picture of what you need to do. State of Florida benefits, you are going to go to what's called People First. People First is the state of Florida. So People First is where you will go to enroll in one of those 4 medical plans, one of those 14 dental plans, the vision if you want the pre-tax option, maybe you want the Aflac cancer plan, etc. You're going to go to People First. You will have to have a login ID and a temporary password. So your login ID you can find in MyUFL. MyUFL, the system where you're checking your paycheck, you're submitting your time off request, etc. MyUFL will have your People First ID, but give it a couple days. If you're watching this video and you haven't started with us yet, or you're watching this video and it's day 1, your People First ID might not be in there yet because we send you over the day you start to the state of Florida. Over the night, they send it back to us and they give us your People First ID number. But how you find it, there's the navigation for that. And the password is very sensitive the first time you do it. We've showed you here the password that you need to use for your initial login. And then I wish you the best on coming up with a password on the People First system. We have to change ours every 30 days, and it's quite complex. So don't get too frustrated. We have to do it all the time, but you'll definitely need to change that. If you want to enroll in the University of Florida benefits, that's the standard long-term disability plan I talked about. Maybe you want the life insurance or the legal plan. You will enroll in MyUFL, and we have given you the navigation. Don't get frustrated. You're not going to see state of Florida benefits in your MyUFL enrollment portal, and you're not going to see UF benefits in your People First portal. That can confuse folks sometimes. They're like, wait a second, I wanted that legal plan. I don't see it in all of these options with the state. It's because it's a University of Florida plan. So where you will see it, a holistic picture of your benefits is in your paycheck. You will see everything you enrolled in, but you will always have 2 benefits portals that you will have to navigate. Same with open enrollment. You'll have to go to both of those. If you're going to add dependents, make sure you sit down when you're doing your enrollment. Make sure you sit down with information you need, or you'll get frustrated because it won't let you complete all of it. You're going to need their date of birth. You're going to need their social security number. And then there will be People First or the University of Florida will request documents to confirm that dependent eligibility. Please don't ignore those. Please don't ignore anything coming to you from People First. If they ask you for information about your spouse or your dependents, you got to respond. They're going to ask you probably 2, maybe 3 times, but they will then terminate your benefits, and there's nothing we can do to get them reinstated. So please make sure you're not ignoring People First or the University of Florida benefits team if we're asking for dependent eligibility. After your 60 days, if you've missed that 60-day enrollment period, you can enroll in benefits during open enrollment. That's usually in the October-November timeframe, and those changes are effective January the 1st, unless you have a qualified status change, marriage, birth, change of dependents, etc. You would be able to enroll within 60 days of the event. So if you have any questions about that or what type of supporting information you need, please feel free to reach out to our team. Communication. As I said, state of Florida will send you communication that is via mail. So always make sure your mailing address is correct. So if you're coming to us new, let's say you applied and you lived in North Carolina and you use that North Carolina address and now you have a Gainesville address, please make sure you change that as quickly as possible. We need ID cards going to the right address, etc. So we've given you information on how to update your address. University of Florida benefits, we're not going to mail you anything. We send everything to you to your UF email address. If anyone on this call is OPS, and so we have, and for those of you, I know when I started at UF, I didn't understand OPS or Teams or Gator Care or the state of Florida. It was all so much for me, and I do this for a living. But if you are OPS, you're temporary. I want to be very clear with you. You are, if you're full-time OPS, you're eligible for all of these benefits. If you then say, well, I'm not interested. Maybe you're still on your parents' plan or etc. And I'm really hoping to get a permanent Teams position. I'll enroll in benefits when I get that Teams position. I want to be very clear, and this can be incredibly frustrating for people if they don't understand this. That is not a qualifying event. That would not all of a sudden give you in April the ability to enroll in benefits. You would have missed your window because if you are full-time OPS, even though your job is temporary in nature, you are benefits eligible and you need to enroll now unless you want to wait until open enrollment. One more fun thing, we don't manage this in our department, but we definitely want to talk about that, and that's the Employee Education Program, the EEP. This covers up to 6 credits of eligible coursework per semester term. It's available for full-time employees who've worked at least 6 months. The eligibility is based on the work location, so University of Florida, or if you're outside of Alachua County, UF or the public state of Florida university closest to the work location. You do have to get admitted to the university or the eligible university as degree seeking or as a non-degree seeking or non-degree seeking student. But if you want additional information, I know many people who have benefited so greatly from this program. This is something that might interest you. Definitely reach out to Verlissa Ford in the Employee Education Program area, and she would be more than happy to talk to you about that. All right, we're going to go fast now, and we're going to talk about the retirement landscape. And so this can be very confusing. I think I would love for you all, like I always encourage folks, let's get medical, dental, vision, let's get the benefit landscape done. Let's get enrolled in immediately, especially if you're going to need to go see the doctor, etc. With retirement, I don't want you to wait too long. And if you want to do it now, I would be thrilled if you want to go ahead and do it now, but you do have 90 days, not 60, you have 90. But what will happen immediately, your first paycheck, you will have 3% come out of your paycheck. That is required by the state of Florida. You must participate in a retirement plan. 3% will immediately come out. And if you say, well, Shannon, I haven't elected it. You just said I had 90 days. That's correct. You will default into a plan until you take action. I don't like you to default. I want you to be in the plan you want to be in, but just know when you see that first paycheck, 3% is coming out. So all team staff will participate in one of the Florida retirement plans. If you're a College of Medicine, let's say you're clinical faculty, your foundational science, etc., you are most likely going to be mandated in one of the plans, but all of that information is in a packet that will be mailed to you and is also on our website. So on the next slide, you will see highlights of the 3 plans. I'm going to quickly just give you just a snippet of each one. The SUSORT plan, that's only a state university system retirement plan. It is a defined contribution plan. Here's the differences between these plans. You are immediately vested in this plan, meaning that the money that the employer is putting in on your behalf will be yours from day one. And that is 5.14% that the employer contributes on your behalf. You put in 3, we put in 5.14, and it's immediately your money. You also could put an additional 5.14% of your money into that plan. The middle option is FRS. That stands for the Florida Retirement System. All of these are managed by the Florida Retirement System, which can confuse some folks, but that is a Florida Retirement System plan. It's a defined contribution plan as well. There is a 1-year vesting. So if you do not think that you're going to be here 1 year, you might want to reconsider this plan, because the money the employer puts in on your behalf will not be your money until after 1 year. Your 3% is always your money, but the employer is going to contribute 8.3%. So a good bit higher than that ORP plan, which is really nice, but just be careful about that vesting requirement. You cannot put any additional money in this plan. You put in 3, we put in 8.3. That's all that can go into that plan. The third option is a pension plan, which you don't see pension plans around much more. But of course, we've had a pension plan for a very long time, and that is what's called a defined benefit plan. Here's a huge difference. You are vested after 8 years in the pension plan. So if you are not sure that you're going to be with us for at least 8 years, and I hope you are, but if you're not sure about that, be cautious about picking that pension plan. The benefit in the employer contribution is based on a formula that the state provides to us every year. So you're not seeing necessarily an employer contribution, but we are paying into your pension account on a per pay period basis. So those are very high level highlights of the 3. We have a great brochure on our website. I encourage you spend some time with these options to make sure it's the right one for you. You also do need to understand which ones you're eligible for. So for those employees that are eligible for ORP, you have 90 days to enroll. If you don't take action, you're defaulted into the pension plan. And then after 8 months, you're defaulted into the investment plan. I don't want to see any of that for you. I would say take action, never get to the 91st day. Make sure you take action on that as soon as possible. Now let's go to the next slide, because there are actions that have to be taken in order to enroll in these plans. So, and this slide deck and presentation is on our UFHR Benefits site. I find this to be, I just don't like this process. I think it's confusing, and I don't like that we still have paper forms, and I'm sorry about that, but this is a state of Florida, Florida retirement system requirement still. They're moving in the direction of more online forms, but we're not there totally yet. So if you want to enroll in that ORP plan, we've given you the instructions on how to do that. It is a 2-step process. You have to complete this enrollment form and send it back to the benefits team without your social security number. You also must pick a provider. You see here TIA, AIG, Voya, Equitable. That's going to be your record keeper. That's the company that the state of Florida is going to send your money and our money to, and they're going to manage the investment options. So then you would have an account, let's say with TIA, and you would be able to pick all the different plans and the investment vehicles that you want. But it is a 2-step process. You don't just want to do this form. You must initiate a relationship with one of those providers as well. That's for the ORP plan. The next slide does give you the highlight, the investment or pension, easier process. You would fill out, and there is an online form, which I'm very happy about that. You could go do the online form, and you will indicate if you want to be in the investment plan or the pension plan. Now, if you want to be in the investment or pension plan and you are eligible for the ORP, you're an exempt employee and you're eligible, not mandated for the ORP, you will have to also do that previous form I showed you. And on that form, it says, I know I'm eligible, but I don't want to be in this plan. I'm going to enroll in either the investment or the pension. So unfortunately, even enrolling in investment and pension requires you to do that form that we previously showed you that you would have to submit to our office. So multiple steps. Make sure that you get clarity around that. Reach out to my team. Be more than happy to walk through that process if it's confusing to you, because we want to make sure you're in the right plan, because you cannot change. If you go ORP, you will remain in the ORP plan your entirety at the University of Florida, unless you have a break in coverage over a certain period of weeks. If you go into investment or pension, you cannot go into the ORP plan. You do have one opportunity. You could go between investment and pension, and I will not get into those details, but just know that you cannot go ORP to investment or investment or pension into ORP after you make your initial election. So super important you understand not only the plans, but the process. We do have a couple of voluntary savings plans if you want to put more money in, because as I told you with the pension and investment, you cannot put additional money in. So we have a state of Florida deferred compensation plan. It's a 457 plan. You can put either tax deferred or after tax Roth options in that plan. You see at the bottom for 2026, you can put up to $24,500. Unless you are over 50, you can put $32,500 into that plan. You can also contribute to the University of Florida 403B plan. The provider for that is Fidelity. Once again, pre-tax and after-tax options, same limits. What I love about these plans is you can put 24/5 in one and you can put 24/5 in another. If you say, Shannon, I can't come close to putting 24/5, you could put 10 in one and 10 in another just to get more money being saved, or you can just put money in one of the vehicles. So these are very popular for our employees to be able to put additional money aside. So if you're, and the nice thing about this, you can start, stop, change these at any time through the year. You are not bound by the 90 days. So if you want to see, get your paycheck, figure out what it's going to look like, and maybe in a couple months you want to enroll in one of these plans, no problem. And we've given you instructions on how to be able to do so. Leave. Well, you just got here and we're so glad you're here, but we also want to tell you, we encourage you to take some time off as well. And we're going to give you just, I find this to be such a benefit for working at the University of Florida. We provide, depending on what your job is, vacation leave, sick leave, paid family leave, holidays, and personal leave as well. We have a wonderful website where you can check out all of that different information. But on the next slide, we're just going to give you a few highlights so you can think about that. Vacation leave, you will accrue 6.769 hours per pay period. That's based on your FTE. So basically, if you're a full-time employee, you're accruing 22 days per year. You are able to cash out 200 hours of that vacation time, but I don't want you holding on to it too much. I want to see you take some time off, and you would use that for travel, leisure, running errands, etc. Sick leave, 4 hours per pay period based on that FTE. There's no maximum annual balance, so you frankly can just earn sick leave. That's why I was telling you on the disability, if you're a real good steward of your time and you save that sick leave, if you're able, you could tap into your sick leave in the event you had a disabling situation. And of course, here are the reasons that you would use sick leave. The vacation leave is only available for our 12-month faculty. So if we have some 9-month faculty that are watching this information and this presentation, the vacation leave is only for 12-month faculty. And then, of course, our other employee types. University holidays, we have 11 paid holidays each year. We've listed those here for you. You also may be eligible based on your employee type for personal leave days. We use that during the week of Christmas and New Year's. Bereavement, 2 days for the passing of a family member. And one of the greatest benefits we have is paid family leave. You are eligible for up to 8 weeks of full pay in a 24-month period. You can get paid parental leave for family bonding after childbirth, fostering, or adoption. And then we also have paid medical leave, and that's for a serious medical condition for you or an immediate family member. So if you are going to, we say, this paid leave is for the best of times and the worst of times. So if you are in one of those situations, please reach out to our leave team. We'd be more than happy to walk you through the process, the documentation that is needed, and to help you understand how that time off will work. And then also, if you have that long-term disability, we would work with you to file that claim as well. So I have some reminders for you. So let's go through those. You have 60 days for your health benefits. And by health, I mean medical, vision, dental, supplemental plans, flexible spending, etc., and 90 days for your retirement plans. Here is a link to our website. It will give you all of the information you need in order to make those changes. Make sure you review your mailing address. In 1.UF, please make sure that mailing address is correct. We want to get all of the information to the right location for you. So check out that mailing address when you can. The next slide is beneficiaries. One of the most important things that my team does is to walk alongside of our employees who might have lost a loved one or their loved ones who might have lost an employee. And so we want to always ensure that your beneficiaries are correct and up to date. So as a reminder, you all get, if you are eligible, that $25,000 of life insurance. We want to make sure that you've updated that when you enroll on the MetLife site. There's will be information for you to be able to do that. If you have an HSA account, you'll want to have beneficiaries for that. For your retirement accounts, whether you pick the ORP, the investment, or the pension, you always want to make sure you have beneficiaries for those. Also, free advice, make sure you have beneficiaries up to date on your banking account. We just went through this with a family member of mine, and it was difficult because it wasn't all up to date. So we want to make sure that yours are up to date and that we know in the event of a death how to process this. So in summary, you've got state benefits that you can enroll in, medical, dental, those 14 options, the pre-tax vision with Humana, life insurance, remember $500,000 guarantee issue, but no accidental death and dismemberment. You've got that short-term disability option that I'm not a huge fan of. I think there's a better one for you, accident, cancer, etc. That's through the state. That's at People First. Then through the University of Florida. If you are eligible, you can enroll in Gator Care. Remember, if you've got that qualified domestic partner, Eagles Dental, the post-tax Humana Vision, the standard life insurance where you can get $300,000, but AD&D is included, the long-term disability plan where you would need to choose between either the 30-day option or the 90-day option, and then the legal plan. And then with retirement, you're going, if you're eligible, for all three plans, you need to pick one, the SUSORT plan, the pension plan, the investment, or you will default, and we do not want you to default. But remember, you've got multiple steps you need to do regardless of which plan you're wanting to take. The only time you would not have multiple steps you need to take is if you're not eligible for the ORP. So our non-exempt, our hourly employees are not eligible for the ORP plan. So they would only be eligible for the pension or investment plan. So there would be a one-step process for you. You can enroll at any time in the voluntary savings plans, either through Fidelity or the state of Florida deferred compensation. And then leave. Use your time. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you plan a wonderful vacation. Of course, sick time is there if you need it. And then if you need to take access of that paid family leave, please reach out to our leave department. So in summary, here's how to reach us. benefits@ufl.edu. We love to talk to you on the phone as well or in person, but we just ask that you send us an email. It goes into our case management system, and then we'll be able to track that. You can also book an in-person or video consult by following this link as well. Yes, you can call us. We answer the phones all day long. So if you definitely want to just give us a call at the HR building, they'll get it back to us and we'll get to you as quickly as possible. So I just want to thank you for your time. I'm excited for you to be here at the University of Florida. We are here to support you with all of your benefit needs. Take care and go Gators.